Hey guys, so I just wanted to do a quick little preface for this video. It didn't really turn out as I was wanting it to. So this video, as you can tell, is on imposter syndrome, and it's just me chatting about my experience with imposter syndrome. And I guess when I sat down to film it, I was kind of thinking that I would turn it around and make it, I don't know, somehow inspirational. I don't think that it's like a serious problem for me or anything. I don't think it's more of a problem for me than it is for other writers, and I know that it's something that affects me, but I don't think that it's like ruined my life or anything. And so I came into the video with like a pretty good mindset. I think that just talking about it all at once really put me in a really bad headspace, and so you'll probably notice that as the video goes on I start to get a little, I don't know, just my headspace really takes a bit of a downward spiral. When I was watching the footage back, there were several points where I was just staring kind of blankly for like 2 minutes at a time, kind of just trying to collect my thoughts. And by the end of this video, I will say that I was a little frazzled. I was a little kind of just disoriented feeling, you know, sometimes just talking about something kind of just dredges it up. And so I just want to say that I'm totally fine. This hasn't ruined my life. This hasn't ruined my career. And honestly, I'm actually very happy with where I am with my writing and with my career and where it's going. I feel pretty secure. And I've gone through periods of my life where I was very insecure, and I've gone through periods of my life where I was less insecure. And right now I've been pretty solid and stable and in a good place with my writing and where my career is going. You know, there were points in my life where I didn't have the confidence to pursue a career in writing, but I have that confidence now. My feelings towards the end of the video are really negative, and it's not really indicative of how I feel all the time. That was just indicative of how I felt in that moment when I was really talking about it, and kind of things were coming up where I was going, oh, this has maybe affected me more than I realized. But I also don't want anyone to think that I'm posting this to, like, I don't know, feel sorry for myself, because I don't feel sorry for myself. Like, I really don't. I feel fine. I'm not weighed down by this constantly all the time or anything. And then I also just wanted to make this little disclaimer just to say that this video doesn't really turn around. I have in the past, you know, done videos like this where I opened up about my feelings and my insecurities, and they always came around. I always somehow turned it around, and I always got a very positive response in those videos. But this one, I just didn't do that. I really just kept sinking into my own feelings, and I was starting to get really just kind of overwhelmed and upset a little. But I thought it was still worth sharing. So if there is any takeaway from the video, I think it's just that, like, everyone or almost everyone deals with these things. It's not just me, and it's definitely not just you. That's all for this. Hey guys, it's Shaylin, and I'm here today with another video, and today I wanted to talk about imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is something I've been wanting to talk about for a really long time. I think about 2 years, and I just never have, because every time I sat down to film this video, it's like it just wasn't there clear in a way that I knew how to articulate. But I just want to film it today and just commit to posting this video, partly just because I'm having a good hair day, so it would be a waste if I filmed this and scrapped it. This isn't going to be a video on like how to combat imposter syndrome, because honestly I don't really know. What's helped me the most with my own imposter syndrome was just being able to go, nope, that's imposter syndrome, and know not to like indulge those thoughts and feelings. But that doesn't mean that I still don't sometimes. And I also don't want to make it sound like I have the worst imposter syndrome ever. This isn't meant to be me being like, my imposter syndrome story, how it ruined my life and writing career, because it hasn't. It's just a way that my insecurity manifests, and I think it does this for a lot of people, and I think it might hopefully just be helpful if I shared that experience with you guys, because I don't think it's rare. Like, I don't think it's uncommon. I think actually probably 9 out of 10 writers deal with imposter syndrome in some way. I think it's probably like a super common thing. So I wanted to just chat about this. I have not scripted this video. I've just been thinking about it a lot. Hopefully I'm insightful. Imposter syndrome is basically when, it doesn't just happen to writers, but it's something that happens when people start to have success of some kind. It could be small, it could be large, it doesn't really matter. And then they start to convince themselves that they don't actually deserve that success, and basically like they're an imposter. That's what the name comes from. So say someone gets a big promotion, they'll start to feel like they don't actually deserve the promotion, and they're way less qualified than everyone around them, and it should have gone to someone else. They might worry that at some point they're going to be found out as incompetent because they don't feel like they you know, deserve this position. And this person might fully deserve this promotion, but they just feel that they don't. And it's pretty common among writers. So I first heard about imposter syndrome 2 years ago when I had my first short story published. Obviously, like, I was very excited for about 3 days when I got my first story published. And within 3 days, I started to talk myself down from it, kind of. And I started to think, oh, like, the story's not even that good. Like, why would anyone publish it? Like, it doesn't really deserve to be published. They probably like read into it like as more insightful than it actually is. And I started to even think things like, oh, like maybe I was kind of like, oh, it's not like a big publication, so maybe like it's not even a big deal, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what publication you're published in. That's always an accomplishment. So I don't mean to throw shade at the publication that published me. Meat for tea, you're a pal. My insecurity basically just ran with it and was like, how can I convince myself that this is not actually an accomplishment at all? I was on the phone with my mom and I was basically like, the story's not even very good, and I was like saying all this stuff. And my mom just went, that's imposter syndrome. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And she explained it to me. And I was just like, I feel called out and seen. So that's kind of when I learned that there was a name for that. That didn't, you know, make it go away. And it's really funny. I actually still, like, I feel like I talked myself into a place where this publication was not even an accomplishment, but like something I felt ashamed of, because I talked myself into this place where I hated the story. Which, I mean, to be fair, I do think the story has a lot of issues. I talked myself into this place where I hated the story so much that like I stopped even listing it as a publication of mine. Because I was like, oh, I'm not proud of this story. And so when like my friends would say like, oh, I've never been published or whatever, I would be like, huh, neither have I. When like objectively I had been published. I had had a story published in print. This is it right here. It exists. It's tangible. It's a thing. I would literally just drop it. And I acted like I had never been published when I literally had been published. And I started to notice this when I had my most recent publication, which I'll leave a link to in the description. My story, I Will Never Tell You This. So I got this story accepted for publication back in January. For me, I think the most common way that I experience imposter syndrome is this very decisive feeling that no one will like the work. So I got my story published and I was so excited, and I was like, oh my god, I'm getting my story published, mom, grandma. And then I started to just have this feeling, oh my god, no one's gonna like it. And it's like when I experienced this specific kind of imposter syndrome, it's like it's not even a question. It's not even, what if people don't like this? It's just, I can't even envision people reading it and liking it. And so I started to be quite nervous for my story to come out, actually. Like, that's the only outcome I could think of. And like, that didn't happen. The story came out and the response was moved me. It was lovely. Like, for me, my imposter syndrome I find is so decisive. It's like, people will hate this. It has nothing, it's not even rooted in a maybe. And I find the one other situation where I find that this is really bad is just even getting personal critique, and beta reading has been the worst for it. For a little bit of background, I have a lot of experience getting feedback on my work. I think I'm pretty good at it. If you're new here, I'm a writing major and I've only got 2 classes left in my degree. So if you're a creative writing student, you're getting a lot of feedback. You're in workshops, your professors are giving you feedback. It's constant. So I've got a lot of experience getting feedback, and I think I'm pretty good at it. It doesn't upset me to get critique. Like, I really look forward to my workshops. I enjoy them. I think I'm pretty good at like considering feedback. I think I'm just overall pretty good at getting critique just because I have so much experience with it. When I started, I wasn't. Personally, I think that being able to take critique well, it doesn't really have to do with like how like sensitive you are, because like I'm a sensitive bitch. I don't naturally have thick skin at all, actually. But I think it's literally just a matter of practice and experience. And the more you get feedback on your work, like, the more maturely you'll be able to handle it. It doesn't have to do with how sensitive you are naturally. 'Cause literally, I've always been such a sensitive person. So getting critique was difficult for me at first, but now it's fine. But I wanted to talk about beta reading, because what I realized was that a lot of the time my imposter syndrome is kind of a defense mechanism. And I think this happened with I Will Never Tell You What This too. I think this is kind of what it is, and maybe it's like this for everyone. Maybe that's kind of what imposter syndrome is just like a defense mechanism. I found that both times I did a beta round, in that I would send out the book, and obviously you need a certain level of confidence to voluntarily send work to people. At school it's different because I'm on deadline, so I've had to submit things that I just hated and I knew they were bad, and like I wouldn't have submitted that voluntarily. I was just on deadline. Not a ton, like it's only been a handful of times where I've had work that I was like, this is really bad and I'm embarrassed. Like, I had this one TV pilot. The class didn't like it. That wasn't even imposter syndrome. That wasn't even my imposter syndrome being like, what if they hate it, but it's fine? No, like, it legitimately was quite bad. I noticed with beta reading that, like, if you're voluntarily sending your book to, you know, a group of strangers, you need a certain level of security in that. And I found that almost immediately after I would send it to betas, then the imposter syndrome would kick in. And what would happen was I would start to really dislike the book. And I would start to, first of all, think they were all gonna hate it, but I would start to really dislike it myself. Like, I never disliked the story itself or the characters. My work is really important to me, you know, like, writing is basically the most important thing in my life. I basically decided that it's what I want to dedicate my entire life to doing. It's not like I hate everything I write, but it's just like I start to really hate the execution. I start to find a lot of problems with how I executed it. So in this time, while I'm waiting for people to read the book, but I've already sent it out, I start to really hate the project. The thing is, I will do this really publicly. Like, I think I'm gonna talk more about my platform in a second, but I unfortunately have this platform in which to broadcast my insecurities. So, you know, if people ask me about it on my blog, I will, you know, say that I hate the book and say that there's a lot of problems, and I'll talk about it in videos. I think it's this defense mechanism because I feel the worst case scenario is I love the project and then all my betas hate it. A slightly less bad case scenario is I hate the book already and then my betas hate it, because then it's like, at least I already knew. And I think I developed this really big fear of being seen as not self-aware. I had this really big fear of being proud of my work, thinking the work was good, people reading it and being like, oh my god, she really sucks. That was like my biggest fear on this platform and just as a writer in general. And so it felt like I was protecting myself to not just hate my work, but openly talk about how much I hate my work. Because then it would be bad, but at least I knew it was bad, as opposed to it being bad and me thinking it was good and me thinking I was a good writer, and then everyone being like, oh my god, she's such a fraud, she thinks she's a good writer, but she actually sucks. That's one reason why I worry about the next time I have to do a beta round. I worry that this will happen again. I worry that the process of beta reading makes me hate my work, not because of anything the beta readers say, but because of how I react to it before I've even gotten the feedback. The sad thing is, I can get positive feedback back, but once I've talked myself into that place, I stay there. Once I just talk myself into a place where I hate a project, I don't come back from it. You know, like, I really root those feelings pretty deeply into myself. And I'm not saying that this is the reason why I shelved my book, The Dragon Tear, that I did a beta round for, because there are other reasons, like that I just outgrew the project and I stopped being interested in writing fantasy. However, I wish that I could have moved on from it, not hating it. Like, I feel like it would be nice for me to have a better relationship with that book and be able to look back at it and be like, yeah, it doesn't matter if I'm not gonna write this because I still love it. I wish I could find some kind of pride in it, but instead I find embarrassment in it. Like, I literally feel embarrassed by that draft because of how I decided that I had to hate it in case other people hated it. I try to be proud of my work, but I feel like then I start to worry that I'm being too arrogant. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my platform. I think my platform really plays into my imposter syndrome. I don't want to blame my platform or AuthorTube or whatever on my imposter syndrome, because I'm pretty sure that if I didn't have a platform, like, it would just find another way to appear. I think that's kind of how insecurities work. If I didn't have a platform, I would probably still have imposter syndrome. It would just maybe manifest differently, be related to different things. Personally, I feel like it's so rooted to my platform. I think what happens for me is I always feel like I'm kind of being watched. And the thing is, maybe I would feel this way if I didn't have a platform, you know, but I'm always comparing. I've had this platform for a while, so I'm always comparing it to how I think I would feel if I didn't have this platform. I think I have a lot of insecurity about, first of all, my work and also just myself on this platform. Even thinking about my debut novel coming out in, I don't know when, hopefully several years from now, I kind of feel like instead of emerging onto the literary scene kind of like anonymously with nothing to lose, I feel like I'm almost just like kind of walking into a pack of wolves waiting to hate everything I write. And part of the reason why it seems a risk for me is, again, because I get to a headspace where I can't imagine people liking my book. I love my book. I can't express the love I have for this project. But when I think about publishing it, all I can think of is basically, you know, Shaylin Bishop is canceled. She sucks at writing. And everyone hating it. Part of it comes from I've developed this like defensive need to prove myself because I have a platform where I feel like publishing a book isn't just me publishing a book, it's me having to prove that I know how to write and prove that I know what I'm talking about. Because I constantly feel that maybe everyone thinks I'm a fraud and I don't know what I'm talking about. I think part of it is, again, like this isn't to blame it on negative comments because I think, again, I would be insecure anyway, but like relatively frequently get comments about my age. And I know that I look younger than I am. I know that I can pass for 16. I am young and I look even younger than I am. And like literally like I was at a family reunion on the weekend and it's like a family thing. Like I have like 11 cousins. We all look so young for our age. Even my cousin, my oldest cousin, she's 32. She has a 3-year-old kid. Someone rang her doorbell and was like, oh, like is a parent home? And she was like, I am the parent. This is my house. So we all look really young. Like my brother in his high school grad class was voted most likely to be ID'd at 30. So I get a lot of comments that are like, why am I listening to her? She's 14, which I'm not 14. But even when people I think know my age, which I'm 22, I think they still think I'm too young to be here. And so I think part of that gives me a lot of imposter syndrome because I start to think maybe I am too young to be here. Like, why am I here? It's the constant battle between me trying to believe in myself and go, no, like, I actually do know a lot about writing. I might be 22, but like, I've published short stories. I have a degree. Okay, I don't actually have a degree in writing, but in 4 months I will have a degree in writing. I do very well in my classes. I've been writing for as long as I can remember. Like my whole life. Frankly, I personally believe that age doesn't dictate skill or knowledge. So sometimes I'm trying to be really like firm with myself and kind of have that conviction. Then this other part of me is like, well, maybe by like having that confidence, like you're just not being self-aware. Like maybe you really don't know what you're talking about. Maybe like you are a fraud. Maybe you are an imposter. Like why are people even subscribed to you? And one common thought I have about my platform is that I don't understand why people like me. And this is interesting because I don't hate myself. Like I don't think I'm the kind of person who's filled with deep self-hatred. I'm pretty self-deprecating in my humor, but like I don't hate who I am as a person. Like I try to live in accordance with my values and I think I feel pretty secure in who I am and how I live my life. But then when I think about people, imaginary people watching my videos, I'm like, I don't understand why they would like me. I always am like, they probably find you annoying. They probably like think that everything you say is stupid. Annoying is the big one. Like I'm always just like, everyone probably thinks you're annoying. Whatever that means, like I don't even know why. And because like in real life, I don't think I'm an annoying person, but I'm always like, people probably think you're annoying, or they think you're full of yourself, or they think you're like unqualified, or they think you're stupid or whatever. It's like the same with my writing where I was saying I can't envision people liking my writing. I can't envision people liking me as a person when they watch my videos. It makes me not want to tell people I'm on my YouTube channel. It makes me like almost feel embarrassed by it. I feel like if they were to watch my videos, they would just dislike me. I find it really hard to make friends in the writing community because I'm held back by this thought that this person probably dislikes me. I find it really hard to reach out to people because in my mind I'm thinking, okay, well, like if they've seen your videos, they probably don't like you. They probably think you're annoying. They probably think you're stupid, whatever. And you'd just be really embarrassing yourself by talking to them. That's kind of sad, I guess. I don't know what to say. I'm just gonna stop and drink tea. I don't know. Like I have a very complex relationship with my own YouTube channel. You guys know I was on hiatus for like a year ago. I was on hiatus for a year. This was all a big part of it. I just developed this really unhealthy relationship with my platform, and the unfortunate thing is that having an unhealthy relationship with my platform makes me have a really unhealthy relationship with my writing, because I use my platform to kind of justify a hatred or a worry about my writing. All of these people are watching you. When you publish a book, they're all gonna hate it. I really developed this insecurity about my voice because of YouTube comments, actually. Quite frequently get comments about my voice being annoying. I never used to think about my voice. I didn't care about my voice. My voice was just my voice. And now I have developed this really big insecurity and dislike of my own voice. I don't know if that's imposter syndrome. I don't think that's imposter syndrome. I think that's just probably me being insecure. I don't know. What was my point with this? I need to gather my thoughts. I'm losing my train of thought. I guess the thing that is most upsetting for me is because I don't think I live in like a constant state of insecurity or anything. There are moments where I like my work. When I'm writing the first draft, I love it. When I'm thinking about my work, I love it. So I feel like I kind of get this like ping pong where I love my work, and then I get near to a point where people are gonna read it, and then I freak out and I start to think that I suck at everything, and I start to think that it's really bad and people will hate it and they'll shun me and think that I'm a stupid fraud. And I think it sucks that like I feel like I keep impeding my own ability to just love my writing, which again, like I do love my writing. I don't know how to really explain that. Like, does that make sense? You know, when you're like insecure about your writing, it doesn't mean you don't love the piece, but you just have developed this like big insecurity about it. I don't know, does that make sense? That's, I guess, my chat on imposter syndrome. I don't know. I'll probably think of more to say after I filmed this video, but I've already filmed it. That's kind of like my experience and some ways that I find it manifests. There are probably others that I'm not remembering right now or not thinking of right now or haven't clocked that that's imposter syndrome. I didn't mean for this to be like such a downer video. I was trying to be, when I started this, I was like gonna try to be inspiring, I'm gonna try to be uplifting, make people know they're not alone in feeling this way, and then I feel like I just started to realize how sometimes my insecurity really like affects me sometimes, and I'm started to be like, whoa, that's not good. Anyways, that was basically that. I really thought that I was gonna turn it around to have more of a point in the end, but it ended up, I feel like, not really having a point, and I just rambled. I'm sorry if it sounded so woe is me. I also didn't mean for it to come off like that. I don't really know. I really don't know what else to say. Every once in a while, it's just time for me to ramble to a camera about how insecure I am and post it. You know, it's happened before and it's happening now. So, hey, I'm going to depart now, leave you. Good luck in all of your future endeavors, folks. I hope imposter syndrome leaves you be. This is not how I normally talk in my outros. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can always send me an ask on Tumblr. I've become very discombobulated because of this conversation that I just had with myself, and I will see you in another video.